Okay, so let's see. I had this question come in from our dear sister Nama Priya, right? She's kind of dropped out of our meetings because she's in Mauritius right now.
She's in Mauritius.
Just having an ecstatic time with the devotees there. And it is a bit late, although Suyash Prabhu, he still he still joins. As Jivana would say, you get extra credit for joining late. Okay, so this question, which came in from Mauritius, this was actually, so this is a question being passed on like third hand. For somebody asked Purnamasi, and she's passed it on to Namapriya. The question is about consuming dairy products in Krishna consciousness. And welcome to Charu Damodar Prabhu. Great to see you. I'm in Austin now, just reached Austin, Texas. So consuming dairy products, because many preparations of food that we offer to Krishna and then consume contain cheese, butter, or milk. One part of the question is, why don't we, the devotees, keep our food to the minimum, which Krishna himself mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, i.e. flour, fruit, leaf, water. Why don't we keep the exploitation and suffering of animals to the minimum when it's actually possible? If we only refuse milk products, as we know that the present day milk industry brings so much suffering to the cows, and Krishna would be happy with us even if we offered purely vegan offerings. The second part of the question is, why do we think that Krishna likes to be offered something like milk that has been taken from someone without their will? My friend was referring here to the fact that the cow only starts to give milk after she has given birth. After the cow has given birth, we carry on milking, in parentheses, exploiting the cow and taking away something that was meant only for her baby. We would be happy if you could give some clarification here. Okay, yeah, this question about consuming dairy, it's a hot topic. Welcome to Tungarasa, to Norway. Well, Dhanavad. So a few things here. One point here is that, and I think this is the main point, is that, we offer, we are not members of the Saguna world. Or rather, we are, but our gurus are not. And the plane that we are striving to move towards, it is not of the Saguna plane. By Saguna plane, I mean of the worldly plane pertaining to the material modes of nature. But our gurus, Krishna, they are the Lord, they are members of the Nirguna plane. Welcome to Kunti Devi. Krishna, he is of the Nirguna plane. Our Guru Dev, our Guru Varga, they're of the Nirguna plane, that plane which is free from any touch of the material plane. And so these are two categorically different natures. And everything in this world is polluted. Everything is polluted. The very foundation of everything in this world is filthy. Why? Because it is all rooted in opposition to the Lord. It is all rooted in opposition to our real self-interest. In Bhagavad Gita, there is this verse, right? The first verse of the 15th chapter, Urdhva Mula Mada Shakam, this verse where it describes the nature of this world, it's compared to a peepal tree, like it's similar to a banyan tree, that is upside down. It's a very wonderful analogy. Its root is in the higher world, but it's rooted in opposition. It's going away. So our source is spiritual, our source is divine, but we are rooted in opposition, from that higher plane. So therefore, nothing in this world can be pure. All there are so many ethical causes, so many good causes, and we can appreciate them in a relative sense. We can appreciate kindness, purity in a relative sense. If somebody is honest and moral, all clean, all these things, we appreciate that within a relative sense. But in an absolute sense, they don't have any standing. They don't have any standing. Why? Because the whole foundation is wrong. The whole foundation is rooted in opposition from the Lord, from our true identity as loving servants of Krishna. It's like the analogy is given in a dream. You have good dreams, you have bad dreams, but it's all a dream, right? It doesn't really have any lasting significance, lasting meaning. So as we enter into this discussion, we have to remember that this whole world is a mess. This whole world is contaminated. It's all just different shades of bad. There's a welcome to Somya Sham Prabhu, Vichai Prabhu. There's this famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, Dandavat. Dvaite Bhadra Bhadra Gyan Sab Mano Dharma, E Balo, E Manda, E Sab Brahma. Very famous, important verse saying that to distinguish between good and bad in this world is foolish, because it's all wrong. E Balo, this is good. E Manda, this is bad. This is foolish because it's all wrong. Maybe there's less wrong, there's more wrong, but it's all wrong because it's all part of the illusion of mundanity. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in one place, he goes so far as to say that he's speaking of these different modes of material nature, sattva, raja, tama, goodness, passion, ignorance, that, okay, normally we strive for the mode of goodness, a sattvic life, a life in the mode of goodness, a clean life, an honest life, a regulated life, all these things. But ultimately, that is good, that supports our spiritual practice, but in the big picture, it's not worth that much. It doesn't have anything of lasting value. It's like it can be a support structure, but it's not the real thing. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj goes so far as to say it is like the difference between wet stool and dry stool. Okay, dry stool is a little better, doesn't smell so bad, but it's still stool. So that's one thing we have to remember. And I think a lot sometimes how, I'm a little OCD and I get bothered by chemicals and plastic and germs and all these things, and you see how, like, in this modern lifestyle that we live, everything is so polluted. Everything is so polluted. Like the soaps that we use to clean, they're also polluted. Like we have one good friend who he's very sensitive to chemicals, and he cannot even stay in a building where they're using anything like any soaps or perfume, anything that has chemicals in it. He can't even be in the same room. Like we can't wear, in this temple, to accommodate him, like we don't allow clothing that's been washed in ordinary soap. So it's like what we use to clean is also contaminated. That's the state of this world. Everything's contaminated. And the food that you eat, right? You store it in, maybe you buy something, it's stored in plastic, and it's contaminated with so many things from the plastic. This is like an issue I have. All these things bother me. Like I don't like to eat anything that's in plastic. And they recently, one of my friends told me how there was some study done, and it was estimated that everybody eats about like the size of a credit card of plastic, I think one every week, because it's just in everything. So we can get, what I'm saying is that like we can get some idea of how everything is so contaminated, everything is so polluted, So then going back more specifically to our, well, maybe before I go on more, I'd like to say, we try to minimize the degree of our exploitation in this world, but it's impossible to control. Like if we're really going to be serious about it, the only way it's impossible to totally avoid it. But if we wanted to minimize it in a serious way, we would have to go and live out in the middle of nowhere, without electricity, without any type of modern contraptions like plastic, no technology, like these phones that we use, how much exploitation is behind. Like we don't want to think about that. Some of the components that are used in making phones are like particular ingredients, elements that you only find in certain parts of the world, and there's all kinds of horrible exploitation that goes into mining these elements. It is, we can't get stuck on one thing. There are endless things. The clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, it is ridiculous. The modern way of life, it is embarrassing. If anybody go open your fridge, and like how many countries, like if you went through every ingredient in your fridge and every ingredient within every ingredient in your fridge, how many countries were involved? Like probably like 20 different countries. If you open your fridge, everything in there will come from combined will come from 20 different countries. This is a challenge, like honestly, if you go through, and I don't like to buy anything that has more than like 3 ingredients. Like if I look at it, like so many things you buy, you that they sell, you look at it, and there's like some little biscuit, and there's like 50 ingredients. Like where did each of those ingredients come from? And now I've noticed a new thing, that there's a bit of a scam going. Now you've got me started here. There's a bit of a scam with vegan milk. Like if you look in the supermarket here in America, a lot of milks, they don't actually, they're not technically vegan, but they call it plant-based milk. But if you look in the ingredients, it'll have something like vitamin D, which often is animal derived, or there will be some mysterious ingredient like natural flavorings, which by law can include animal products. And then if you look on it, it doesn't actually say vegan. I've seen several milks like that, and it just says plant-based. Then I understand there's a bit of a scam going on. So it's like we're living in this ocean of impurity. We cannot avoid it. It's like to a microscopic level, there's so much pollution and filthiness and exploitation that goes on. We can't even think about it. The mind boggles. We'll sink into depression. So what do? We just make the best of a bad bargain. We just make the best of a bad bargain. It's not only the cows, it is so many persons and elements that there's exploitation going on so many different levels. So that's one point. And then another point is that, we are trying to live a bhakti-based life. What is the essence of bhakti? It is a spirit of offering. So we are here in this filthy saguna world. If we offer something to the nirguna world, it becomes purified. This is our only hope. This is our only salvation. Like in this age, the need, the importance of bhakti, it becomes so much more evident. This is the only solution. People are searching for solutions, but this is the real solution. Bhakti is the only solution, to live in that spirit of offering. Okay, this technology that I'm using, this phone that I'm using, this is the only excuse I have to use this, is that I'm trying to use it in the interest of the Lord. I'm trying to use it in the interest of the center of the universal interest. Otherwise, what excuse do I have for participating in the degree of exploitation that went into producing this, just for my own whimsical satisfaction, so I can watch Netflix and like chill out? Is that a reason for enabling this? I don't want to be an enabler of exploitation. No, the only excuse I have is that I'm trying to use it for service. That's the only excuse that we have. So bhakti, living in that spirit of offering, like, okay, there's so much exploitation that went into this computer. I don't even want to think about it, but I'm trying to use this in service of a higher cause. And the nature of that higher center is that it can purify everything and anything. It is of that quality. So when it comes specifically, the question was specifically about dairy, then we will think, this is the thinking of the devotee, that Krishna likes milk. We're not, I can also add, like, we're not actually vegetarian or vegan. This is a part of the Saguna world. These are Saguna conceptions, that I am an environmentalist, I'm a vegetarian, I'm a vegan. That's not our concern. That's not what this is about. We are not, as one of our gurus said, the monkeys are vegetarian. Just to be vegetarian in and of itself doesn't mean anything. There's no, in the big picture of things, there's no value to that. In the relative sense, okay, we appreciate it. But in the big picture, in the absolute sense, there's no value to that, actually. So we are not vegetarians. We are not vegans. We are devotees of Krishna. There's this beautiful quote of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I posted it a few months ago on Facebook. Let me see if I can find it, where he says, we are not moralists or sinners, but we are carriers of the shoes of the devotees of Krishna. That's our identity. I love that so much. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. We are not moralists or sinners, scholars or illiterates. We are carriers of the shoes of the Lord's sincere servants who are initiated into the mantra, Kirtaniya Sadahari. The Lord's name is to be chanted constantly. So this is who we are. We're not, Brajamahini's here. I wanted to tell you, you missed it. I wanted to tell you about the vegan milk thing. Because Brajamahini, anyway, I'll tell you later. But there's a whole scam with vegan milk going on. I'll tell you later. So anyway, this is our identity, that we are not, Dandavat to Bhagavan Prabhu joining us from Venezuela. Wonderful to have you with us. So we are not moralists or sinners, scholars or illiterates. We are carriers of the shoes of the Lord's sincere servants. We are not vegetarians. We are not vegans. These are all causes pertaining to the temporary plane and temporary truths. So what are we? We are aspiring devotees of Krishna. We are aspiring lovers and servants of Krishna. So what pleases him? We are doing that. So the scriptures tell us that Krishna likes eating fruits and grains and vegetables and milk. And so we offer him that. Bas. That's good. That's it. The end. What he wants, it is a simple thing. What you want, if Krishna said, I want to eat lamb, then we'll give him lamb. But he didn't say that, so we don't give it to him. He says, I like to eat potatoes and I like to eat broccoli and eggplant and all these things. And he loves milk. So we offer milk to Krishna. And then an important addition here is our Gurudev. He was asked this question once. Is it okay to offer milk to Krishna if there's exploitation to the cow? And our Gurudev, he considered the point, and he said, if it's possible to offer milk that has come, from happy cows, from cows who have been raised, raised with some, humanity, they've been raised well, happily, without exploitation. He said, then that it is better to offer that if you can. offer milk that doesn't have such a high degree of exploitation. Okay, I'm muted. So our Guru Dev did say that if it's possible to offer, milk that is karma free, as they say in some places, then that is better. But then he added, however, if that type of milk is not available, then you can still offer milk that comes from, these other cows. And then he added that otherwise, how will they get the opportunity to offer any service to Krishna? And this is the crucial point, that actually these cows who are suffering so much, they're getting the opportunity of offering service to Krishna. They will be so blessed. They will be so benefited by that, those cows. They will, if their milk gets used in Krishna's service, they will be benefited by that. What type of sukriti, what type of divine grace will they get? What type of future, welfare, future benefit will they get as a result of that? I would say at least they would get a human birth. Okay, Kunti, thanks for joining. See you later. So you could say we're actually depriving those miserable suffering cows, we're depriving them of the opportunity to offer some service to Krishna by not offering their milk. And what else? There was a few other things I wanted to say there. I can't remember, my mind just blank. But oh dear, there was something else important I wanted to say. Now it just left my mind. We're offering the cows an opportunity to render some service to Krishna. Then the next thing I wanted to say is that, I do think there is some it's a tricky thing, because as I said, we do live in such a contaminated environment. So in the big picture of things, I don't think it's such a serious thing if devotees are taking milk, for themselves. But I would add that, if somebody is taking this very seriously, then you could avoid taking milk for your own purpose. Use milk that you offer to Krishna. Offer your milk to Krishna. If somebody wants to be very particular about this, then I would say, and I have some friends who are devotees, they are like that. They won't purchase milk for themselves. They'll only take it if it's, been offered to Krishna in the temple. And, so I can appreciate that sentiment. Because, because I personally, I don't take milk, but that's for health reasons, because I cannot digest milk, But I don't think, what I really want to say is I don't think we want to get into a spirit of judgment of how others are choosing to practice their Krishna consciousness, because we are living in the mud. We are living in the mud, and as I was emphasizing, everything is polluted here. However, if somebody wants to be really righteous about this, then I would say, do it like this. Don't take milk for yourself, but take what has been offered to Krishna. Another point that our Guru Dev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned is that, we honor the cows, of course, because we know that the cows are dear to Krishna. And also, cows, they have the highest degree of consciousness, in the whole animal chain. Cows are top of the animal chain in terms of consciousness, in terms of evolution. So there's more sin that is counted in violence against cows. Because sin is determined, the karmic, or let's say sin has kind of like a really heavy connotation, doesn't it? The word sin. Let's say karmic load. I like that more. The violence against, and welcome to Dana. Violence against cows has a very heavy karmic load because cows have very high consciousness. So according to the degree of consciousness, the reaction is determined, right? So that's why taking plants is less reactionary. There's still a reaction to taking plants. Vegetarianism is not the solution because plants have consciousness. Again, that's why bhakti is the only solution. Offering, the spirit of offering is the only purifying element. So the karmic reaction is determined according to the degree of consciousness. If there's violence committed towards a living entity, the reaction is calculated according to the degree of consciousness, because the pain is experienced according to the degree of consciousness. If there's less consciousness, less pain is experienced. But like there have been studies that show plants have a reaction, like if they're coming to be harmed, if they're coming to be cut, there's a degree of suffering there. But it is much less than in the case of animals because there's less consciousness. So cows, there is a much higher degree of consciousness. So there's more sin. However, our Guru Dev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they did mention that, these cows, they are not the same as the cows of Vrindavan. And, this is a sensitive subject because I know many devotees, they get very excited about cow seva, about doing service for cows. And we don't want to diminish that, that is a noble thing. And our Guru Dev kept cows in our temple. We had like 60, 70, 80 cows in our temple. And that was a serious Goshala in Navadvip. So, and our, Guru Dev, Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said something like, these are Kali Yuga cows. These are not the same cows as Goloka Vrindavan. These are not the transcendental cows, who are Krishna's divine associates. However, because Krishna likes cows, and these cows, there is a connection there. There's some representation of those higher cows. And so we like to give some honor to them, But to make, cow seva like the be all and the end all, that's not the idea. That's getting things out of perspective. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj went so far as to say, one place, he said, I am not a member of the Cow Protection Society. That's what Srila Sridhar Maharaj's words. I am not a member of the Cow Protection Society. He said, I am a member of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. So we honor the cows. We want to do some service to the cows, but we don't want to get things out of perspective. We are participating in Krishna consciousness. This is not a social cause, a social endeavor. So that's another point to be included in this discussion. And so, I think I addressed pretty much everything I wanted to say. But then there was a second question. Let me see. There was a part 2 to this question. Why do we think that Krishna likes to be offered something like milk that has been taken from someone without their will? Because the cow only starts to give milk after she has given birth. After the cow has given birth, we carry on milking and taking away something that was meant only for her baby. This is something where there are different expressions of that, right? As we were saying, there are cows that are raised humanely, and there are those that are raised in a spirit of, exploitation. And I believe there is a way of milking the cow, which is not taking away from the child. I'm not an expert in this department. Maybe someone here can say better, but what I can say is that the Vedas, they give such a systematic science of life, of religion, of everything. And in the Vedas, there's so much in the Ayurvedic section, and not only there, but milk, the importance of milk is mentioned so much. And I don't think that would be the case if that was something that was exploitative to the cow. I believe there is a way of raising the cow and the baby of the cow in such a way that there's no harm and no disturbance. And also, there's a transcendental, there's a spiritual expression of this. So in the divine expression of this, the cows are dying to give their milk to Krishna. They want to give their milk to Krishna. And they're, that's something they would be extremely joyful to do, to have the opportunity to offer their milk to Krishna. No doubt.
Can I chime in on this part?
Yeah, please, Jayadev. You're much more knowledgeable on these things.
I've been like, how do you say it? I'm like at the cow gate, ready to be let out into the pasture when I first heard the question. One thing I think is vastly important.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
It won't make it. I think I just have no hope on everything.
Don't be choppy and
So I haven't yet met someone who's a vegan who's actually raised cows on a Krishna conscious cow project, or like a project where the cows are being honored. And I think that really no one can actually comment on it until they've had that experience where the cow is honored in the Vedic way. The whole life cycle is there in the Vedic way. They really can't comment on how cows are, because I've had personal direct experiences with how much cows I've had experiences where I felt adopted energetically by a cow. There definitely was not suffering, and the cow was usually at the gate waiting to be milked, excited to be milked, happy to give milk for sure. There wasn't ever a sense of suffering, and a lot of that has to do with the energetics of how the cow is actually honored, revered, cared for. And there are examples where cows had not given children, but were given the Goshala care, and all of that love and honor started spontaneously giving milk without ever having effort.
Whoa, wait, you're saying you're saying you've seen cases of cows that had never given birth, and they started spontaneously giving milk. You've seen that? Wow, amazing.
It's not common because real Goshala, it's not very common, but yes, there have been cases of this. And then also I just wanted to add that in the whole Vedic lifestyle, there's a whole circle of life with the cows. And also if you look at try to let a cow out in wild, see how.
Oh man, we've lost him. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, our connection here is not so bueno as it can be.
Okay, you're back. And we have some comments here from Angel, who's saying women do this too. I think I've heard of that too. Just recently, I heard about that. Sympathetically, it comes out.
All right, we've got Jayadev back over here, back on tap. If you can hear us.
Oh,
okay.
Awesome.
I was going to say the one last thing is there's a whole cycle of life in the Vedas that when you kind of apply this, their bioremediation and all of these impacts that the cow culture has, and cows don't exist in the if you go and let cows out into the wild, they're not going to survive. There's an irreversible relationship for thousands of years between cows and mankind. And just because in the West and in the dominator culture that has been so perverted, doesn't mean that there's not an exalted and healthy expression of that's absolutely mutually beneficial, and probably less in the last thing I'll say is it's less in the plane of exploitation than even harvesting vegetables, because the vegetables are being murdered. Like if you eat a beet or a carrot, you're cutting the plant, you're the physical harm to the plant. But if you're in a healthy cycle with a cow, and again, this is from direct experience of interacting with cows day after day after day in a protected project, there is literally no stress. Literally. The only stress is if you forget to milk the cow and it's like she's full and she like needs to be milked. Or so I just wanted to point that out, that like it's really hard for anyone to comment on cow culture if the only model they have is the Western, commercial model, which is even, that's all.
I see. So generally cows, they give more milk than their calf can take, it sounds like, anyway.
Oh, definitely. And it's not that good for the calf to keep milking. There's a certain point where it's time for them to switch to grain, and the cow will still, some of the cows will give milk for like, without even having another baby, for like up to 7 years, without even having another baby, if they're treated right, and they're fed well and their nutrition is properly dealt with. Absolutely. And they actually like the ritual of milking. To be kind of graphic, it's like when you have to go to the bathroom, it actually feels good when you go to the bathroom. So with the cows, it's the same thing. It's not like they're like, oh, you're taking my milk. It's like, oh, thanks. They turn their head around, they look at you, they breathe, they sniff on you, they love you. I mean, the most animal love I've ever felt is from a cow. And again, I'm awkward. I don't normally milk the cows. I was just taking care of them. I think milking is, I don't know, it's a little weird for me. But I remember that I had this pivotal moment the first time I awkwardly milked a cow, and the way she turned her head towards me in that initial connection, I felt such deep love. I started just crying, and it completely shifted my whole frame of reference on that. So anyways, that's my story, and I just wanted to add that into the discussion. Even though it's on the relative plane to some extent, it was connected with Krishna guru, like a guru in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line. There was that regard and there was that connection, and more of an ISKCON thing where they do Srila Prabhupada did want that, so that is under his guidance that was happening, and that is happening. So just wanted to put in a plug for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jayadev. That was really helpful. Because I've never had any experience with taking care of cows. So that was beautiful, wonderful. And that's
absolutely life-changing. Absolutely life-changing for me. Like life-changing. Yeah.
Wonderful. And you've totally answered the second part of the question here. Wonderful. And you also reminded me of our Guru Dev.
Information, just to add information. Every mammal, if you continue to milk it, so that means maybe the young is weaned and is gone, has other needs, but when continue to be stimulated, it keeps producing milk, including humans.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. And I was reminded by some of the comments of Jayadev here that our Gurudev, he mentioned how you probably remember this too, Govind Nandini, how there was a cow that they had in our temple in the early years of the temple, Shamali, and this cow loved our Gurudev so much, and she would give twice as much milk when our Gurudev would milk her. I think it was like normally she'd give 2 kgs, and when our Gurudev milked her, she would give 4, something like that, or 6 even. It was a lot. So she was like happily giving to our Gurudev, joyfully, lovingly giving that. And if anyone else milked her, it was half as much. So yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Does anyone else have anything to share? And another thing that comes to mind in regards to like taking care of cows properly is our Gurudev said that, there is sometimes a practice of, do they call it like neutering bulls? Is that the right term? Neutering them, making them impotent. And our Gurudev said that was unethical, that was not, he did not approve of that it was, I don't remember the exact word, I heard this from Chivika Maharaj, but our Gurudev, he said it was not correct to do, it was, I wish I could remember the exact phrase that he used, but, it was inhibiting the natural, expression and biology you know, of the bull and the cows. So, you know, there is this kind of respect, like if cows are being raised properly, then there's, you know, there should be this mood of respect. It's not that these animals are just for our convenience, for our enjoyment, but there's, as Jaide was saying so nicely, there's a reciprocation that's going on here. Okay, anyone else have any comments to add to our discussion today? And Narotam Prabhu has also joined us. Welcome, Prabhu. Tungarasa says, milk is connected with expression of love and affection. Well, that was a pretty complete discussion. I feel like every point was covered there.
I can offer a point if that's okay.
Yeah,
Vishakha,
please.
From a person like myself who was a really fanatic vegan, one of my not necessarily converting over to the Krishna concept of cows, was one devotee had brought to me the concept of sustainability, that a lot of the vegan like products that are available now are available only because of the like fossil fuel industry and a lot of shipping. And but if you actually want to do sustainable, like actual fossil free life, there needs to be this honor towards cow protection as like your friends, that you can take care of the land, that you can have everything you need. Like it's the piece of the sustainability puzzle that answers the question of how to get free from fossil fuels. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a good point. That's showing again like another piece in the chain, right? You know, it's like on every level. There's so much exploitation. Yeah.
That bulls and cows, like I've worked with bulls before, and I was training with my Goshala guru in India, and I noticed that they're ready, you know, like just how like a dog wants to please, like, you know, a lot of people have dogs in America. This is how the dog is like ready to do what you want. Like the dog wants to please you. The dog wants to. Same with the bull. Like the bull is not trained to be like Toro, you know, like, you know, be mean. Like that's like completely backward, demonic, satanic kind of ritual with the like bulls are mean, and they use them as like sport mascots with their mean faces and whatever. Like no, they actually are the most gentle and like adorable and sweet, and they want to please you. They want to, if you're, you know, their guardian, they're like, they want to do what you want. They're not trying, if you have them from a young age, they're just like your sweet little children that they grow up to be very big.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
We call them grass puppies.
Grass puppies.
I want to add one thing.
Yeah, please.
I've heard this from like, you know, other senior devotees, that the cow is like the last you know, in the transmigration of the species of life, the cow's next life is a human. And
that's
so,
right. Yes.
And so, you know, like, you know, killing the cow, it becomes such a sinful activity that not only are you stopping the transmigration, you know, just one more life before coming to the human form of life, but also the fact that I think in the Bhagavatam somewhere, that if a person does kill a cow, then like, you know, the punishment is like residing in the hellish planets for as many years as there are hairs on the cow body. So yeah, it's a big thing, and I understand circumstances and everything come into consideration, but yeah, it's a very big thing. And you know, you can see it even in like the cultures, like after World War II, America was so big on this concept of beef eating, and you know, it's really sad to see, like, you know, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add that as a point. I came in late, so sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you for adding that. Yes, that's absolutely correct. And I liked that angle that you added there, that, you know, the fact that you are like their final animal birth just before they get the rare opportunity of a human birth, and you're like interrupting that, then yes, that's highly reactionary. yeah, that's another point. So yeah, and and our Gurudev, and if someone was struggling to become vegetarian, then he would advise them at least avoid cow meat. At least like start with that. Start with that, because that is very, very reactionary. So yeah. Okay, well,
I want to give people courage in doing this. I recently had to go to my doctor and have gelatin taken out, take my medicine in a different way. We can do these things. There's reasons to compromise, but when we don't need to, we should have the strength to stand up to people and work so that we don't have to have these things. Sometimes it can be very difficult working with family members who want to feed us, but they don't want to avoid cow. So we should talk to these people very lovingly and stand our ground strongly. I want to encourage people to do this.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. Thanks for sharing, Angel. Any other comments on our discussion today? We have a few minutes left. Maybe I'll just I did have another question. Maybe I'll save it for next week. But I'll just say a few words about Vrindavan Das Thakur. Today is his divine disappearance day. He is the composer of Chaitanya Bhagavat. And, these are our two principal references for Chaitanya Leela. The Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. And so our Gurudev, maybe this is a nice way and a concise way to close our meeting. Our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, he composed a verse honoring both Kaviraj Goswami and Vrindavan Das Thakur, because they both have this very important position in presenting the Leela of Sri Chaitanya Dev. And this word Vyas is used, right? Vyas, normally we use that term in connection with Krishna Dvaipayan, Veda Vyas, the compiler of the Vedas. But Vyas is actually a title, and it means one who disseminates a particular knowledge. And so Veda Vyas, this is the title given to this sage, Krishna Dvaipayan. He is the person who disseminated the Vedic knowledge. He's Veda Vyas. But then we can also conceive that there is a Vyas of Chaitanya Leela, as Krishna Dvaipayan was the Vyas of Krishna Leela, so there must be a Vyas of Chaitanya Leela. And sorry, I've got all these notifications pop. What's up? They changed it. So now, even if your phone is off, you still get it on your computer, but I actually find that unhelpful. So I'm going to close it here. So then there is a Vyas of Chaitanya Leela also. And so what's very interesting is that, so Vrindavan Das Thakur, he gave Chaitanya Bhagavat first. And, he's a generation before Kaviraj Goswami. And Vrindavan Das Thakur, he did not actually meet Mahaprabhu, but he was the direct disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. He was the last, our Gurudev described him as the last disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. And he gave this Chaitanya Bhagavat on the inspiration of Nityananda Prabhu. And then later, Kaviraj Goswami, he gave Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what's interesting is that you see in Chaitanya Bhagavat, on a few occasions, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, I'm not the Vyas of Chaitanya Leela. Vyasadeva will come in the future. So he's referring to Kaviraj Goswami. And then you see conversely in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami is repeatedly saying, I'm not the Vyasa of Chaitanya Leela, and he defers to Vrindavan Das Thakur, saying Vrindavan Das Thakur is the Vyasa of Chaitanya Leela. And so there's this beautiful kind of reciprocation that goes on where they're both deferring to one another. And our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he harmonized this by pointing out that, you know, there were these two layers to Chaitanya Leela. There's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming here as the Yuga avatar aspect, you know, coming to spread the Yuga Dharma, you know, Prema, Nama, Sankirtan. But then there's also this internal, more esoteric aspect of him coming to taste that Radha Bhava Duti Suvolitam Naumi Krishna Sarupam, or he's coming to taste that inner mood of Radharani. So there are these two aspects, the more public aspect and the more internal layer. And so our Gurudev pointed out that in that case, we can conceive that Sri Chaitanya Dev, he may have two Vyasas, one who is presenting the more public side and the other who's presenting the more private internal side. And so we can think of Vrindavan Das Thakur, he's describing more that Yuga avatar aspect of Mahaprabhu. And Kaviraj Goswami is going more into that internal nature. So our Gurudev's verse, Dasa Vrindavanam Vande, Krishna Dasa Prabhum Tata, Chanavatara Chaitanya Leela Vistara Karino, Dronityananda Parabja, Karunarena Bushito, Vyaktachano, Burachancho, Bhavande Vyasarupino, Shri Guru Gaur Gandharva, Govindas Cha Ganaisaha, Jayanti Patakaschacha, Sarvesham Karunartina. And so our Gurudev is pointing out, you know, Sri Chaitanya Dev, he is the Chana avatar. Chana means hidden. This is a term used in Srimad Bhagavatam, that he is the hidden avatar. And so he's saying, I offer my respects to both, first Vrindavan Das Thakur, and then also to Kaviraj Goswami, Krishna Das and Chanavatar Chaitanya, that they are together distributing this Leela of Lord Chaitanya. Vishakha, Dvo Nityan, and I love this line. He says that they are both decorated with the merciful foot dust of Lord Nityananda. Because before they began their respective writings, they both got the special mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Dvo Nityananda Parabja Karuna Rena Bhushito. They're decorated, so beautiful, the poetry. They're decorated with the merciful foot dust of Nityananda Prabhu. And then Vyakta Chano. Vyakta means revealed. Chana is hidden. So he's saying that Vrindavan Das, he's giving the revealed, the open, the manifest side of the Leela. And Kaviraj Goswami is giving the Chana, the hidden side. Vyakta Chano, Buddha Chincho. Buddha, what is conceivable, and Achincha, what is inconceivable. You know, they are both describing these two sides. Vyakta Chano, Buddha Chincho. They are both Vyas. They are both Vyasa Dev. So this is wonderful composition by our Gurudev, honoring both of them. And Vrindavan Das, as we said, you know, he was the last disciple of Nityananda. Okay, Chaitanya, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch. I will get in touch with you. I have your email. Have a great day. Haribol. So he last direct disciple of Nityananda Prabhu, and he actually settled. Okay, Narottam, thanks for tuning in. And he settled finally in Mamgachi. Sorry, he was born in Mamgachi, which is where we go on our last day of Parikrama. And he finally settled in what's the name of it? Maybe Braj Mohini remembers, or it's right next to Bamampar, our Gurudev's birthplace. Maybe Bhagavan Prabhu remembers, or Govinda Nandini. What is the name of it? It's a small, Denor.
Denor.
Yeah, Denor. Yeah, Denor. It's a small village. right next to our Gurudev's birthplace, Bambamumpar, and that's where he settled in his last days and composed Chaitanya Bhagavat. Okay, I'm going to stop there for today, and we will stream this evening. We'll have some more discussion about Vrindavana Thakur, so everyone's welcome to tune in if they like. I think that's all. Anyone want to add anything before we end for today? Okay, we've had lots of hearts this meeting. Okay. Bhagavan Prabhu, it's so nice to see you. Will you conclude with some words of wisdom, some inspiration? You're our senior.
Today my connection was real bad. I can't even hear properly the meeting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little broken, but we can hear you.
Yeah. I'm receiving the association of the devotees to all of you. I always want to hear from you because I hear from you about Srila Govinda Maharaj always. So I'm here as a student.
Well, I'm always very inspired by your mood, Prabhu. You have a very sober and gentle.
The last time I heard a meeting, you were talking about devotion and emotion.
Uh-huh.
The last time. And I was a little confused that meeting because it's always mixed. It's more emotion than anything else, and then it's like difficult to define that because I mean we're learning how to be a devotee, and most of the time we're not having the proper attitude. We don't have the mood of the real devotion.
Yeah.
So
we are trying.
Yeah, we're learning. I remember that always. I mean, it was two disciples of Srila Siyar Maharaj. They went there, and they told after more than 30 years service, they told Srila Siyar Maharaj that they haven't learned anything about after 30 years.
Right. Right.
And then Srila Siyar Maharaj asked them, I mean, not even the minimum. You didn't learn, not even. No, we didn't. We haven't learned anything. Not even the minimum. and then Srila Siyar Maharaj was asking them if they want to leave the mission. You want to go somewhere else? You're not happy here. And then, no, we're very happy here, but we understood what we haven't learned. I mean, we don't have the real attitude. We haven't learned even the minimum of the Krishna concept. And then Srila Siyar Maharaj told them there was very nice attitude because of the way they think they're very understanding. that may grow their ego and they may get crazy about it. So that was a real nice instinct. That's very nice. That's the real situation, and you can, I mean, see things in the real way, and you can maintain yourself in a simple way, without thinking that you know too much or very expert. Know that we haven't to know that we haven't learned not even the minimum. So it makes you, that's why we have to get always devotees association.
Yeah.
That's why I've been followed. Yeah, I want to hear when you're giving the meeting. Any devotee who's giving the meeting, I like to be there because in that way you will keep me away from my illusion. Because I will hear from the devotees the reality, and I will maintain it.
That's so beautiful, Prabhu. I like what you said so much. that mood of simplicity. We want to culture that.
It's always very nice to hear from you and all the devotees. It's an honor and my place to always hear our Guru's glories and not devotees' glories. Nagdandavat.
Dandavat. Jai Bhagavan Prabhu ki Jai. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Viva.